based on our marriage laws and the contract we've signed with each other,
right,
to have sex with anybody else.
Right.
So these urges that come, I have to share them with the one person I decide to spend the rest of my life with.
Right.
So that brings me back to my soundbite.
Okay.
Right. I don't understand, and this is what we can discuss as a woman, because I don't want to say it's a man versus woman thing, but a lot of women do complain, oh, my husband's always on me. Why is he always on me? If sex is going to be a chore for you that you don't really want to do, why do women constantly push monogamy on men? If you know that you don't want to have to deal with him all the time just wanting you, why do you push monogamy on men?
Well, who's to say I pushed anything on anybody? Like,
well, we know that you pushed monogamy on me.
I pushed monogamy. I forced you to get married to me?
Time out. I didn't say you forced me to get married, but did you not say to me that you wanted to be engaged and you wanted to be married before you lived with me? You didn't say that?
I want $1 billion. That don't mean I'm going to get it. I can want
but
something,
asking,
but not...
You right now, you're dodging the question.
Nobody pressed you to do it. Yes, is that something I wanted? Yes, it was. But
you didn't press me. Are you gonna lie now to the people because we talking about sex?
DeVal,
you're gonna lie now to the people?
DeVal, knowing.
You didn't want monogamy?
Of course I did.
So then why are you avoiding the question?
That's not avoiding the question. I'm saying, does that mean because I want it and I requested that you were gonna deliver it? Like, nobody pressed you for that.
Time out. You just said you wanted it and requested it. Do you not hear yourself?
I can make a request. Is the request going to be granted?
Am I
That's
not?
Up to you, bro.
Am I not granting you monogamy?
You are granting it to me.
So this is my question.
Always look at your boy. Look at your boy.
This is my question. If you wanted monogamy,
okay,
why would you want monogamy if sex is a chore for you? That's the question. You're avoiding the question.
I'm not avoiding the question, but at first you said women or in general me specifically are pushing monogamy on somebody. Okay, yes, that's something that I wanted, but I didn't press you for it and be like, DeVal, I'm gonna hold a gun to your head to propose to me.
Time out.
Also, let me finish. Also, I don't feel like I was adequately prepared for marriage. And I've said that before, because if I knew that marriage and monogamy was going to involve me trying to meet you where you were at sexually for years to come, then I probably would have reevaluated it if I wanted to be monogamous anyway.
So that's fair, but we're not even talking about marriage. Let's even talk about dating, right?
Okay.
Two people are dating. Typically in society, who asks for exclusivity first, a woman or a man?
I would say a woman.
Thank you. That was my whole point. See, you were going all over the place. If women typically ask for exclusivity first, then when they get exclusivity, say, he always on me, he always want to have sex. Why are we asking men for exclusivity if we do not want to participate in sex at the same level as men? We have to think about what that does to a man. I hear that. And I don't think that conversation is being had.
Okay, I agree. And that part I agree with, yes. That women are typically the ones that will ask for the exclusivity. I get that, yes. But what I'm saying is, me as a woman, I don't think that I was necessarily prepared or in the mindset to know that. It's almost like once you get into it, then you're like, oh, shoot, like this is what I'm going to have to keep up with.
I get that.
Us speaking as 36-year-old people know that now. Had I known that at 26,
I get that.
I would have to contend with that. Even in the dating realm, then it might have been something I would have reevaluated.
So now let's go back to what you asked me. You said to me you never pressured me to get married. In 2007, we were living together, right? You said you no longer wanted to live up with me and shack up with me because you wanted to be my wife, not my girlfriend.
Right, because I wanted to know where the
relationship was going. That don't sound like pressure to you?
It sounds like me voicing where I see my life going. It sounds like me saying, this is what I would like. You can decide to meet me there. If not, we can reevaluate what exactly we're doing.
Okay. Additionally,
would I call it pressure per se? Not necessarily pressure. It
is pressure. But you don't want to say it's pressure. What about being engaged?
You might have felt pressure.
What about being engaged?
There was no pressure behind that.
I said, we don't got to rush to get married. You said, I don't want to be engaged longer than a year. Is that not pressure?
That's me voicing my opinion about it.
Sounds like pressure to me. So you say you want to be engaged, I get engaged. You say you want to be married within a year. We do that. We get married, then you make it seem like sex is a chore to your husband. Once again, I ask the question, why do women who push forth monogamy on the man they're dating then get overwhelmed when that man who tries to provide that monogamy to you Why do you get upset when we're trying to be what you want us to be? You don't want me to be with no one else, right? Right? I'm asking. This is a serious question.
Yes, absolutely.
You don't want me to be with no one else.
Absolutely.
So if I decide that all this testosterone I have, I want to give to you, why is this so overwhelming now? This is what you asked for.
Again, 26 and 27-year-old Kadeen was like, okay, here's the natural succession of life. You graduate, you're working, you meet somebody, you guys are dating. You want children.
Yes.
I want children.
Yes.
We don't want to wait too long or too late to have children,
Yes.
though now a lot of people are waiting until their 30s to have
Yes.
children.
And I understand why.
And we at that time felt like, well, we're doing everything in this natural succession that the forces that be have given us this timeline. However, I did not realize that after having children, after, career changes, all of the turbulences that we've been through in life, that was going to have a direct effect on my sex drive.
This is It Takes Two, and I'm Hugh Mayers with my friend Leonora Bennet, mental health practitioner and mindfulness coach. Hey, Leo, what's up? You good?
Hi, Hugh. Nice to be here.
As always. So look, let's jump into that. Let's chop this up. This week we're going to discuss love languages, but I thought that might be a very apt clip to show. Very brave of that couple to actually put their business on Main Street, quite an intimate topic, and it seemed quite real. It didn't feel scripted and fake. It was kind of real. And I think what the gentleman spoke about, a lot of married men or men in long-term committed relationships would be able to identify with, and quite possibly, more likely than not, what the young lady chose to speak about or represent in terms of her argument, would represent the ideas of many a married woman or woman in long-term relationships, committed relationship, which with children. I have to add that in, with the children. So where do we start? I'm interested in getting your initial thoughts about the subject matter of discussion, because I think it's related to the love language, but I mean, let's chop it up. Go, just jump in.
I see a mixture of issues here. So you have this couple who are obviously passionately in love, and they settle down, they've got young children, and the husband now feels like he's not being sexually satisfied or not getting enough physical contact with his wife. So they're very brave to discuss this personal issue out there in public. He's saying to her, why did you force me to marry you? Why did you let me give you the ring and we make this official if you weren't going to meet me and gratify my needs? So I hear him saying, my needs aren't being met. She's saying, hold on a minute, you wanted to marry me. I gave you the cookie for as long as I could, but things have changed. We've got young children now. Life is hard. I'm tired. So there's a lack of communication there, and I think there's some.
You think so?
Frankness. Yeah, because
I think they was putting it all out there. I think there was good communication. He said, "What man?" He put
about
his out there.
They need. Yeah, no, they need to talk about. Okay, he's clearly saying, "I ain't getting enough. You need to give me the cookie more often." And she's like, well, I'm tired. Things are different now. It doesn't mean she doesn't not love him or anything, but there needs to be some compassion for where she is, and obviously understanding that if they've got incompatible sex drives now, they need to figure that out, because I think that's quite a important issue to fix in a marriage. Sexual compatibility is huge. It's huge. And I can't imagine, also I have to say, I can't imagine any woman fighting her husband off or batting him away, but that happens if someone's tired and if they're busy. But yeah, it's a bit of a challenge.
What I think is, what I found fascinating is the fact that he outlined his position by saying, you wanted monogamy, but before he even brought it to the you as in he was speaking to particularly to his wife, I thought he meant, why do you like a generic you. Why is it so often women more than men? It would seem like many women, they have, and I think there was a kind of implicit, I'm going to kind of read in between the lines, if I may. Give me what they call, is it poetic license in terms of my words? Because this is not what the gentleman said, but I'm reading in between the lines, like, okay, we've met, or men and women meet in certain situations, and if you believe in no sex before marriage, and that's one school of thought, and that kind of takes care of itself, but the argument will manifest later on down the road. If you believe in the hookup culture or the dating culture and getting physical before marriage, right, as many people do in the Western world, that is what it is. So there is a lot of access to the cookie jar, right? The man is now got a sweet tooth. He's developed an affinity for that brand of cookie. And now the lady's saying, well, you know what? You can only really shop here, you know, but other than that, I kind of want you to buy the cookie factory still. It's like, boy, these cookies taste good, you know. So I'm enthralled, I'm in love, I'm moved, and you want it to be exclusive? Okay, well, I want, you know, this is cool. And you want it to be formalized and contractualized? Okay, this is cool. And, you know, he's just saying that down the road, as time evolves, it's like he's going back and saying, can I get a cookie? And it's like, sweet tooth, like you got diabetes or what? You got low in sugar or something? So there's this as a metaphor, but this is what's going on. And then there's a side where there may be, hey man, do you know how hard I work around this place? I've got a career, but you expect me to come home to cook. You expect me to take care, you know, kind of like lead when it comes to child nurturing and things of that nature. So there's these unmet needs on the other side of, I don't think you understand how hard I work. I'm tired. I ain't got no cookies right now. I don't really feel like baking. What say you?
But another thing I'm hearing is this: I want what I want, and I'm not happy. And I do think millennials have this jaded or skewed perception of marriage. Is that it's not a fairy tale. It's bloody hard work. You have to concede. Sure. Sometimes you don't get what you want, and sometimes you have to give without receiving. Because if you're in it together, you will accept that dance and that ebb and that flow. So he's expecting to be hitting it at the same rate he was when he was in his 20s. She's busy, she's tired. And maybe they need to do some practical problem solving. So like literally getting a babysitter, more date nights, planning a sexual diary. So they are making time to make love 3 times a week. But they both got to be on board with this. They can't be acting like children and saying, you know, I married you, but you ain't giving me what I want. Well, actually, life changes too. So have some compassion for your partner. And she needs to acknowledge he's a man, his drive is where it was and hers isn't. But how else can she pleasure him? How else can she meet him so he doesn't feel neglected and left out? But exactly, they both need to come.
Interesting point. Interesting point, because you made it sound like a sense of entitlement, but to have intimacy with one spouse, that's quite interesting. Entitlement, almost like a spoiled child throwing his the way you phrase it, it sounded like was it a spoiled child throwing his rattle out of the pram, or was it a man saying, hey?
He wants his physical. I'm hearing his desire for physical. I'm not hearing him saying, and she, who is nurturing children and tired, maybe might want more of an emotional connection. So she might think now at this stage, well, actually she needs more cuddles and kisses, and she needs a different kind of love and nurture, and he just wants to hit it. So there's a little bit of, you know, come together there and talk about it. Because for him,
let's talk about the love languages then. Let's talk about the love language, because you sound like you kind of led nicely into that by saying touch, quality time. So what are the love languages? We know about quality time. We know about touch. We know about words of affirmation.
Yeah.
You know, acts of service. And if my memory serves me well, gifts, plenty of gifts, yeah. And sometimes I don't know, there's a correlation between how the genders see things and how, but you know, at the end of the day, everybody's an individual, right? So they're gonna have their own love language. But I think if I'm gonna go out on a limb and speak, maybe just for a moment in general terms, I would say that heteronormative men and sex in monogamous relationships, it holds a certain meaning to men, like symbolically, as well as probably physically, but symbolically to men in terms of love. And I think from when I'm going to talk about the research, I'm going to just kick it from the roadside, kick it from the men's country club when men speak about these things, and you know that whether directly or implicitly you read in between the lines, but sex with a woman that a man loves equals her giving him love. It isn't just a physical act. When it's with a woman that he loves, men can be very cut off. Men can be very ruthless when it comes to sex, and very, divorce themselves and be very promiscuous with ease and without no emotional tie. Men are very good at that. But if it's with the woman, when it's with the woman that they love and they've chosen, and they are with this person, that person holds, they've got that woman on a pedestal, then that sex has got a different symbolic meaning. But likewise, rejection, cold shoulder, oh God, what did you want? That's going to have another symbolic meaning in terms of possibly triggering that man back to childhood rejection. I hope I'm not doing no psychobabble and taking it too deep, but I'm telling you, that's my belief. That's my perception. And I don't think women appreciate that, not meaning that they must, it's a click of a finger, but are you aware of how that is playing out in your significant other, if you care about them? Not victimizing, not saying you're wrong, you're evil, you must, but be aware. Do you know what those rejections and those cold shoulders do to a man or mean to a man?
Part of me is like, so what if you trigger a man, if you have a headache one time? But like you say, it's 1,000 cuts. So these things can happen by degrees. In a long-term relationship, and also love languages are linked to our attachment style. So they're linked to how we connected with our parents. So if you're avoidant or dismissive, if you're securely attached, you're more likely to be able to express yourself physically to your partner. You may not be into buying presents and saying, look, here I am, I got you something, because you can express yourself verbally. You're going to say, I want to see you. I want to spend some time with you. You're going to come and see me. So these things they're linked to our attachment style and also our personality. But everyone's different. So you get couples in their 20s or when you're young, and you're enthralled with love, and you might want to, you might be hung up on gifts. Like, he got me this, he got me a Gucci watch, he's got me some Louboutins, and he's got me a bag. But when you mature as a person, you realize that it's words of affirmation. So if somebody says, oh, you're looking good today, or I don't know, or if somebody spends time with you, takes you to an art gallery or out for dinner, that might be more pleasing to you than a guy that's just want to like, yo, baby, I want to see you and I'll come on my yard, than physical stuff. And it changes as your life changes, but we're all different. And I think usually we've got like three of the 5, but it will change about your life. Anyone that's just into sex, that's how sex is not love. So, you need to,
if that's somebody's love language, are they being chastised for having a whole load of testosterone and liking, because it is linked to monogamy? Because there is different solutions, right? Or different there's different results that can take place. What sometimes causes conflict in marriages is like, say for example, the husband. I'm just going to give you an example. The husband, his wife's love language is words of affirmation, right? And you don't come on with quality time and be talking. I want to watch the game. I had a hard day. I'll be working hard for this family to make ends meet, and in fact to make this a comfortable environment. I put the hours in. So when I come home, hi, cool, couple words, but I don't really want to hear what happened in your. You don't want to hear too much detail about what hairstyle you're thinking about. I just want to unwind. Yeah, that could cause a problem if. I'm sorry to say, but if his woman has his wife has a part-time job somewhere or something like that, and there's a male in that environment who's, did you change your hair? and the day in, day out of being around another man who is paying attention. I'm not saying it's going to lead to a catastrophe, but I'm saying you see how problems happen, innit? You see how problems, I'm saying, not even from a place of, you've got to come from a place sometimes of being like firmness and faith. You know, you can't always come up with a place of fear, but sometimes it's good to be aware of how it plays out, because the flip side of that could be the wife who is always tired and always got a curlers in and a face mask, and you know the husband is saying it kind of be good, you know, you go on talk, you know, like, and she's always tired or unavailable, or oh, it's a chore, oh my god, and like it's cool, that's how you feel, but maybe it's about being in tune with your other significant other's love language, because you know men with unmet needs in that department. I mean, do I need to spell it out? But you know, people know how it goes down. And I don't mean it, and no pun intended, but do you get what I'm trying to say to you?
When we start relationships, we usually find a way to bridge those gaps in the love languages, or we feel such passion or intensity that we meet our partner halfway. We want to give them physical touch, we want to give them presence, and we want to spend time. But as the relationship matures and you fall back into that stability, then your real love language comes to the fore, and you might find your partner may not want to hold your hand when you walk on the road, doesn't want to cuddle you, but might want sex. Stops buying you gifts. Oh man, he used to get me a birthday card every year. He used to say such sweet things. So people fall back into their natural love languages, and this is when the gaps are exposed, and you're like, he doesn't do that anymore. Why doesn't he do that anymore? And it's about sometimes being aware. Okay, he actually doesn't want to physically hug me anymore, but can you talk to him about that? Can you change that so that your partner is willing to do things now and again that suit you? And if your partner keeps buying you the same perfume every year for 20 years, and then you're like, actually, I don't want perfume anymore. You need to communicate that. Like, I don't want this anymore. I'm not into presents. I'd rather we go away for the weekend. Take me to Paris, take me to Istanbul. I don't know. Do something different. And it's about expressing your love language or changes in that, saying, you know, let's try something new. Let's flex it up a bit. And if your partner's willing to do that, you're fine. But sometimes the incompatibility is too big, and you realize you've been in a loving haze, and then when the haze falls, you're like, oh, that man is not quite, he's not feeling me, he's not vibing with what I want, and can he give me what I want?
Now that's an interesting point, because the question is often not can the person, but is that person motivated and willing? Are they interested in giving what they want? That man that used to say specifically nice words, used to spit game to his wife when they were caught, and then when they first got together, when they first was married, and he was always schmoozing and talking to her in a certain way, and he knows that these words of affirmation and these words of like these verbal cues mean a whole lot to her, right? He was willing to do that to get her in his life and to have a certain relationship or access, for want of a better term, to his wife, right? But now after, he really can't be bothered, can't be asked, right? But you've also got the flip side, the same as a woman who, you know, when they were caught and when they was newlyweds, for example, you know, then she was they were very rampant, and she was willing to solidify the marriage and stuff like that. But now she's got her kids, in it, like, I'm all right, innit? Like, I'm kind of married to my husband, but I'm married to the kids. Like, that's my priority, like the kids and you know, making the egg sandwich and making the, you know, and the husband gets neglected. And I've heard there's an African proverb that says, remember that your first child is your husband.
Oh, okay. Well, that's a fact, because men are big children, aren't they? Oh,
right. And there's positive and negatives to that. You go, they're like big kids, but it also means, you know what, it's not a whole load of complexities that you need to keep that man in a good place. You know, it's not mysterious. It's not
it's about mutuality, isn't it? Yes.
Or motivation. What about motivation? You remember the movie Love Jones? One of the leads in Love Jones, one of the main characters said when his wife kicked him out, they had a spat, and she kicked him out for a period of time, and he was just kicking it with his friends, playing a game of pool, and was talking, and says, you know, you're gonna go home, or what's happening with you guys? He's saying, I mean, if you ask me, do I love my wife? Of course I do. I don't know it's gonna work out. I don't know. But he said something quite significant. He goes, the love dies when people stop believing, or something to the effect of they stop believing in the possibilities of love. And for me, that always meant like, once the motivation's gone, the thing lock off. You know, but as long as people are motivated, they can always find a way. They can negotiate, because it is a contract. It's a contract, so that people can find a way. You know,
you've got to meet your partner part of the way. You can't stonewall and shut down and be adamant that if you're not getting your needs met, then you can't throw the towel in. You've got to be willing to talk and communicate those things. And I think people are less equipped for that kind of negotiation in this day and age. We live in a very narcissistic world, narcissistic time. People think, your cookie ain't the best, I'm going to get a next one from down the road. I'm going to get a Tesco Finest cookie. But actually all cookies are the same. And some have ingredients, I don't know. Cookies taste the same, but some cookies are irreplaceable, you understand? And
some are organic, and some of them might have some kind of additives, man, some E numbers that you don't really want to really consume that cookie if you know what's good for you. But I guess what I'm hearing is people need to meet in the middle if they want to succeed, or be willing to give and take ultimately. And communication is always the way forward. But are you listening to your significant other's love language? You know, what is important to them? Because it's one thing you communicating in your love language and doing stuff that you think is helpful. Like, he should really appreciate me. I keep this house tidy and I look after his children, but it's all right. But you know, that might not really be the really significant thing. It might be touch. It might be cuddles. It might be like being in your husband's space. That might mean more to him than those. Don't mean he's dismissing those other things, but it means that he really appreciates those things, and that's a good investment.
Yeah, and I think sometimes single people find themselves in cycles of attracting the similar people that are not compatible with them. So you may attract people that are emotionally unavailable and don't know how to say, oh, you look nice, or that don't express themselves, don't know how to ask for quality time. So you're always asking somebody to spend time with you. But looking at those flaws in what you attract, you're attracting incompatible people with different love languages, because maybe you haven't looked at your attachment style and you haven't looked at what you're seeking to feel within yourself. So sometimes seeking out attracting people that are incompatible with you is also a sign that maybe you need to work on some things, because you attract what you lack sometimes, but also you attract what you are. So some blind spots around your communication and what you say your desire is rather than what you're attracting is also something to look at for both people.
So what you're saying and what are you actually putting out there?
Yes.
I hear that. All right. We only got a few moments left, but before we end, I gotta throw this question out to you. Going back to the video, what say you with regard to the way forward for a couple like that? Not literally them, but people, because there's been many people that watch that and identify with that. And in terms of, obviously, we always link the conversation to counseling, therapy, and mental health. You know, that could have, I don't want to sound dramatic, but some people in that type of situation, it causes a fracture. And we know that divorce affects people's mental health, like a bereavement or some other kind of like major life event. So what's the way forward for couples in situations like that?
I believe if they don't heal that issue around sexual drive, incompatible sexual drive right now, that definitely would be a red flag, and that would lead to divorce. So they need to communicate, like I said. He needs to have compassion for her. She needs to have understanding that he has these desires and he really wants to, consummate them with her. He wants to maintain the monogamy and maintain their happy marriage. So they need to spend more time together. They need to try and have more sex. So I literally mean planning sex. That can actually help in a relationship where you've got kids and you're tired and stressed. So having planned
You mean like
evenings
some
of,
strategic date
yeah,
nights?
like, you know what I mean? So
Yeah.
planned nights and date nights also, having someone to take the children so they've got time for each other. And she needs to be willing. They both need to be willing to meet each other halfway. She can't be, she's got migraines every night. I don't know what to tell you. She needs to get some good painkillers and do the thing.
Okay. Thank you, Leonora, for those last remarks. They're kind of like food for thought, that, but they must be ultimately, like, I'm hearing you. There must be willingness on both sides. So a bit of compassion for your wife's workload ain't gonna be unappreciated. But also, I would say to all of my viewers, and in particularly my female viewers, just like I said when I started out, be really aware when you're in a committed marriage or committed relationship, monogamous relationship, what rejection means symbolically, not just literally, but symbolically to your significant other, and how it can impact men. And with that, I'm out. So until our next episode, it's been a pleasure. Peace.
Pleasure. Good night.